She was standing in front of my porch, arms crossed, her lips tight with that fake authority tone only Karens seem to have. "You can't hang that flag here. It violates HOA policy," she barked, pointing at the U.S. flag waving proudly above my porch. I stared at her for a moment, almost laughing at the absurdity, but then she pulled out a slip of paper and slapped it against my door. "That's a $2,000 fine. Pay it or we'll take further action." My blood boiled. This wasn't some decoration. This was the American flag on my land, on my home. "Are you out of your mind?" I asked, trying to keep calm. She smirked, almost enjoying the way she thought she had control. "Rules are rules. Don't test me." For a second, I thought about arguing, but deep down I already knew. This wasn't just about a flag. This was about her trying to control me, to humiliate me in front of the neighborhood. What she didn't know was that she had just picked the wrong fight. The next morning, I woke up to shouting outside. Karen had gathered 2 of her HOA board friends right in front of my lawn, pointing at my flag like it was some kind of crime scene. "This man refuses to follow the rules. He thinks he's above the HOA." She yelled loud enough for half the neighborhood to hear. I stepped out calmly, holding my coffee, pretending not to be rattled. One of the board members tried to look tough, holding a clipboard as if it gave him authority. Karen smirked again. "We'll add another $500 for every day that flag stays up." My neighbors peeked out of their windows, whispering, but nobody dared to step in. That's when I leaned on my porch rail and said quietly, "Karen, do you even know who owns this land?" She froze for a moment, not expecting me to talk back. Her fake confidence cracked just a little, but she quickly recovered. "The HOA owns this neighborhood and you're just a tenant of our rules," she snapped back. I couldn't help but smile at that, because what she didn't realize was that my ownership went far deeper than she ever imagined, and the paper trail that could crush her arrogance was already sitting in my safe. That evening, things escalated even further. I came home from work to find a bright orange sticker slapped across my front door. "Final warning. Non-compliance." My stomach turned, but not from fear, more from disbelief. Karen had staged it like some official government notice, complete with bold red letters. I tore it down and noticed something odd. The HOA seal on the bottom was printed on cheap paper, and the signature? It wasn't even a real name, just HOA Enforcement. She had forged the whole thing. As I stood there holding the fake notice, a police cruiser suddenly pulled up. Karen came strutting out from her yard, waving her arms dramatically. "Officer, that's him! He's refusing to comply and breaking HOA law!" she cried, like she'd just caught a dangerous criminal. The officer looked at her, then at me, confused. "Ma'am, an HOA isn't the government. You can't file a criminal complaint over a flag." But Karen wouldn't stop. "He's disturbing the peace. He's lowering property values. Arrest him." The officer sighed, clearly annoyed, and told me quietly, "Sir, I'd recommend keeping this documented. Something's not right here." I nodded, hiding a grin. Because little did Karen know, every single word, every single move of hers was being caught on my security cameras, and soon the entire neighborhood would see the truth. The next morning, Karen made her boldest move yet. I stepped outside to grab the mail and found a tow truck hooked up to my pickup, the one I used to drive my son to school. Karen stood there with her arms crossed, smirking. "You parked it wrong. It violates HOA rules," she said coldly. I walked closer, trying to keep calm. "That's my driveway, Karen. You don't control it." She laughed, waving a clipboard like it was the Constitution. "The board approved this. Pay the fine or lose the truck." My son peeked out the window, terrified, asking, "Dad, are they taking our car?" That moment hit me hard. But instead of yelling, I pulled out my phone and showed the tow driver something that made his face drain. It was the county deed records. My property was legally exempt from HOA jurisdiction. Karen had no authority here. The driver immediately unhooked my truck, muttering, "I'm not getting sued over this," before driving off. Karen's smile vanished. She started yelling at me in front of everyone. "This isn't over. I'll make sure you regret ever moving here." I just stared at her, keeping my cool, because I knew her biggest mistake was already recorded, and soon I'd use it against her. That night, I went through my security camera footage. Every single word Karen had shouted at me, every fake notice she had taped to my door, and even her attempt to tow my truck. It was all there in crystal clear. Video. I saved every clip and added the county deed files proving my land wasn't under HOA control. The evidence was so solid, even a lawyer would laugh at her claims. The next day, I walked straight into the HOA board meeting. Karen was already there, sitting like a queen at the table, surrounded by neighbors who looked tired of her drama but too scared to speak. She saw me walk in and smirked. "Oh, look, the rule breaker decided to show up." I didn't say a word at first. I just connected my laptop to the projector. The room went silent as her own voice filled the hall. "Pay the fine or lose the truck!" Her face turned red, but I kept going, showing clip after clip of her harassment. Gasps spread across the room. One old veteran on the board muttered, "That's illegal. She can't do that." Karen slammed her hands on the table, shouting, "This is taken out of context!" But no one was listening anymore. For the first time, the power was slipping out of her hands and into mine. The board president leaned forward, his voice low, but sharp. "Karen, this is serious. You don't have the authority to fine someone for flying the U.S. flag. That's a federal right." Karen stammered, waving her hands. "He's twisting everything. He's making me look like the bad guy." I finally spoke calm but firm. "I don't need to twist anything. You did this to yourself." Then I pulled out the final document, the law itself. I read it aloud so everyone heard clearly. No HOA may prohibit or restrict homeowners from displaying the American flag on their property. The room went quiet. You could almost hear her heart drop. The board members shifted uncomfortably, but then one of them asked me, "What do you want us to do?" I looked directly at Karen and said, "If she can fine me $2,000 for flying my own flag, then she should pay the community back $5,000 for every unlawful threat and fake notice she's been spreading." Karen's jaw dropped. She laughed nervously. "You can't be serious." But the neighbors started clapping. One by one, they nodded. And in that moment, I realized Karen's reign was finally breaking. The board voted, and for the first time ever, Karen lost. Her fine against me was erased, and instead, she was ordered to pay $10,000 in penalties back to the HOA fund. The beast look on her face was priceless. Red, trembling, trying to keep her composure as the neighbors she once bullied finally turned on her. I walked out of that meeting to a round of applause, my flag waving proudly in the evening breeze. A few veterans in the neighborhood came up, shook my hand, and said, "Thank you for standing up, for all of us." Karen tried to avoid me after that, but her power was gone. The same woman who once screamed at me for honoring my country was now the one exposed, fined, and humiliated. And as I looked at that flag, I smiled and thought, I didn't fight for this country just to be told I can't fly it on my own land.